So we bought this house in April of 2019, which is about a year ago, and we're up in Utah. Got a nice mountain behind me, and it's a nice property. I'm going to do a little bit of the backyard in a little bit, but what we've had is massive irrigation issues because the guy who owned the house before us left the irrigation system full of water over the winter, and the water expands and cracks the pipes. So last summer we spent the entire summer putting out fires. Basically every so often we'd have a leak in the middle of the yard, or just water coming up from the ground. We would have to dig it out and just to find it. So we're redoing the backyard this year. The front wasn't as bad as the back, and then next year we're going to redo the front. In the meantime, I've got some stuff dug out, getting ready to do some trenching, but I have to relocate things because the original owner put we have a secondary water system that comes in from the street, and what I have is the valve is right here. So I don't know if you can see it. I'm not too used to doing videos. I haven't really done this before. Anyway, that's our secondary shut off. So once there's a valve right there, I had to replace that because that was leaking last year. My neighbor helped me do that. And then this will feed into this. You turn this on or off to get secondary water, basically, which runs our whole irrigation system. And then this is one of the zones. There's this big white pipe here, right down here, going that way. That runs under the tree, and what we have is a boost pump over here. I don't know if we can see it. It's not connected right now, but you can see basically you must have put this in before you put this giant tree in, so all the piping goes under there. So what my intention is, the boost pump basically provides a little extra pressure because it's such a big property. So when the zones are on, it gives it enough that the sprinkler heads can shoot it out a little further. It's pretty basic stuff, but we're going to relocate everything. This is how it was when I moved in. This kept breaking, the boost pump, because it wasn't fixed to anything. It needs to be, and it vibrates, so it kept breaking the PVC. So I have to get that changed up. I'm going to relocate. I'm going to run a valve. I'm going to cut out from under the trees and run all my piping, and everything is going to come along this way, and then I'm going to towards me, and then go up this way, and then run back around to it. That way I had to dig all this out underneath the tree, and that was an absolute nightmare. So I want to avoid ever having to do that again. So I'm going to cut all this out, relocate most of it, and that way if I ever have any issues in the future, I don't have to dig out underneath it. So I was using a hand trowel, and you can kind of see under here, I was digging around the roots. Pine needles feel really good when they're going in your skin while you're digging, and that was a lot of fun for me too. So, but all this will get relocated as well, and I'm going to add another zone up front. But I just wanted to make a quick video for a starting point, and then I'll add some more videos showing some of the digging and trenching we've had to do. We're gonna have to run all new wires to all the valves. I figure there's no point in putting in a new system and having old wiring from probably sometime in the, I don't know, 80s or maybe earlier. All right, so now I'm gonna take a walk around the backyard just to give a view of the backyard. I've got my old girl Luna here. She's out, 16 years old, still going strong. Just such a resilient dog. She's probably a lab mix of some kind. And I'm just latching up this makeshift fence because it didn't have a gate when we moved into the property. Sorry if I'm making you nauseous with my camera moving. We got some pines, a big giant pine right here. This is the side of my house. And then you walk into the back. Now it's a really fantastic backyard. And I think my wife's over there digging. She does not want to be on camera, so I'm gonna go a different way. But you can see we've got there's a valve box right in the corner next to that post. So what I have is the irrigation line is going to run from the boost pump. I'm going to run it through. It's going to have to branch off to the front. I'll reconnect, and then I'm going to run it all the way along this line, and then it'll tee right in this general area. Some of it will go around up this ramp to get to the second level, and then some of it will go to the left. I'm going to have valve boxes over here, and then I'm going to have one by the stairwell here and one just behind this tree. You can kind of see where I dug it up already. So I'm walking up now to the second level of the yard. We've got a bunch of heads dug out. Originally we were trying to trace the lines, and we were just going to use the same location for everything, put the same heads in everywhere, but a lot of these are older, they're bigger. I'm going to go with gear driven heads now. I probably have 25 footers up here. There's a local plumbing supply company, Dirks. They've done fantastic helping me figure out all this stuff. I'm learning more about irrigation than I ever cared to know. I'm an electrical engineer by trade, but this isn't brain surgery, but it's still, it's more annoying, I guess, than anything that I had to do this, because if this knucklehead that owned the house would have just drained the system, I wouldn't be doing this. But I can't spend every summer putting out fires. It's easier to just replace it all. So we dug this valve box out. I'm gonna replace the PVC. I'm gonna be using a poly. I think it's gonna be about 160 psi rated, something like that. And we're gonna get rid of all the PVC. I'm gonna probably have manifolds though again. They make better, it's just better materials available now. So this was just some of the digging we did. I'm actually gonna repurpose these valves all work perfectly fine, and there's enough info on YouTube about rebuilding them. I actually rebuilt one while it had a leak, which wasn't the easiest thing in the world. The secondary was leaking, and I couldn't figure out why when I turned the secondary off I still had water coming through. I was able to do it, but it was harder than it had to be. So, and then I'm going to build them so we can pop these guys out. We can unscrew them if there's a problem. I don't have to actually work on it in the ground. So this area, if you look over here, there's the back of the house. She's digging over in the corner. I know she doesn't want to be on there, and that's my view of the street. If you look, I have, this area is going to be a future garden. It gets really excellent sunlight pretty much all year round. We're probably, I mean, not in the winter, but it gets good sunlight all day the way the sun rotates up here. And so for this year, this whole upper shelf is just weeds and dust, and eventually it's going to be grass, but we're going to cordon off basically straight across here, and we're going to put some poly or cardboard down. We're going to cover that with some compost and soil, and then we're going to let it die, kill all the weeds, and then eventually we'll build slowly each year. We'll put some probably raised bed gardens in. We're gonna put the raised beds in, but we're gonna go no dig, Charles Dowding style. If you want to look him up for gardening, pretty interesting stuff. And that's this area, and then the rest of the yard is going to pretty much be water for this year. That shed it looks nice, but it's falling apart. It's all rotted in the interior, so eventually that'll come down. But this whole general area up here will all be just covered with sprinkler head, and eventually be a little bit nicer grass, I would guess. Like, this is essentially all this green is, none of it is borderline all weeds. So I'll get like a nice field of yellow and purple for about 2 weeks, and that's all just weeds, and then that all dies, and it's hard and brittle, and I still have to mow it because it dies, but it still tends to grow because there is some grass mixed in, and then the weeds continue to grow all summer. And it can be quite a dust bowl. There's some areas where there's, like right over here, this is all dried out, this is all dried out. So I have this mower, but it's just, I have to get a handle on it and get it back to a normal yard. So it's a pretty fantastic yard though.